Hello everyone and welcome to the den. Today we are canning green chili chicken or chicken enchilada soup, whatever you want to call it. It's a really good hearty meal, and if you can get these in your jars, you can have a quick meal. That's what I like about canning. I say that in every video. It just makes it easy if you have something on the shelf that your family likes to eat and it's, you know, already made, and all you gotta do is add a few simple ingredients at the end and you got a really good hearty meal for your family. This is especially good on a cold night. And so right now I have all my ingredients and I'll show you those when we come back. Okay, so the ingredients that we're gonna use today are green chilies. These I just got from Walmart.
I do it bad.
I don't mind them. They taste just fine to me. There's other on brands that are, I think, just about the same. This is my absolute favorite, salsa verde. Herdez makes really great products, I think, in my opinion. They also make a really good cilantro lime sauce that I don't know what it's for, if it's like for tacos, but we put it on like everything, our omelets, our tacos, everything, and it's really good. But this salsa verde is really, really good. Then I'm just gonna have, I'm not gonna cut up garlic today, I don't feel like it. So I just got out my minced garlic from the fridge. I have some fresh cut cilantro that I cut up, some green onions, some northern beans, and my chicken right here. So we're gonna start loading our jars. I have my jars over here. They're washed in hot soapy water, same with the lids and bands. You do not have to sterilize your jars because they're going in the pressure canner, and that is going to take care of any type of microorganisms that might be in there. If you're killing the bad stuff in the food, then you're definitely killing it on the jar, lid, and ring as well. So let's get started with filling up these jars. Alright, so I have my scale here. I cut up this chicken last night also. I canned all day yesterday, so I just went ahead and did the prep work for some of this today because I had to soak my beans anyways. These beans soaked all day yesterday on the counter, and then I boiled them for about, I don't know, between 20 and 30 minutes. They're not cooked. Obviously, it's fine if they're not cooked. I just want them to be cooked once we're done with the processing, so they will be by that point. And cut up my chicken, cut it up in bite-sized pieces, and I know that there's about 9 pounds in here, so I'm going to divvy that up between each jar. So I'm gonna get my jars over here and we're gonna start loading. Alright, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all of my chicken in my jars because I want to get the chicken in the jars and then get the mess from that all cleaned up, and then I'll put the other fresh stuff in. That way I'm not contaminating anything else that I touch. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm just going to fill all of these jars up. Like I said, with about, I don't know, I'm probably going to do about 1.25 pounds, 1.3 maybe. Because, like I said, I have about 9 pounds of chicken here. You could do 1 pound, and that's just fine. And we're gonna I'm gonna push this down with my debubbler once I get all these loaded, because I'm gonna need space for all the rest of my ingredients. So I'm gonna fill the rest of these jars with chicken, clean up this mess, and I'll come right back. All right, so I'm gonna add my garlic first. I'm gonna do about between a teaspoon and a half a teaspoon. More close to a teaspoon, I guess. And as I go along, I do one ingredient at a time and then just clean up or just put it away so it's out of the way and you don't have a big cluttery mess. So I'm gonna put this away and I'll be right back. All right, next I'm doing my green chilies. 1 to 2 teaspoons, or I'm sorry, 1 to 2 tablespoons. Probably 1 tablespoon is good because you're gonna add your salsa verde too. So let's go with that. And then I'll come back through and just finish off if I need to add more. Green chilies are so good. I like them in everything. If you don't have green chilies in your area, you could probably order them online from somewhere. They make stuff so good. I know that I'm from the South and these aren't very popular back home. But here where I live now is very popular. They're so good. They add so much flavor. All right, next we have our, like I said, our salsa verde. I'm gonna do half a cup. And I have some chicken broth started on the stove. I brought it up to a boil and mixed it really good and then just turned off the heat. All right, next I'm gonna go ahead and add the beans. Half a cup of those. So far I've used a jar plus a half a cup of the green salsa, 2 cans of the, let's see, 4-ounce green chilies, and you could use 1. You could omit those completely. That's completely your call. You don't have to have those. You already have the green salsa, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. All right, I'm gonna make this for dinner tonight too, so I'm gonna use those beans. And then I got my green onion here. And I'm going to do about half a cup of these as well. I'm just going to give that a little smush. You want to put the stuff on the top that you can give it a smush with. Because the salsa is coming up over the top and we still got to add our cilantro. You could put the salsa at the bottom before the chicken, but the chicken is just so messy. I don't like touching raw meat. That's why canning for me is awesome, because I only have to do this one time and it's several meals for our family here. So I'm just going to distribute this around. All right. The last thing we're going to do is I'm just going to do a liberal pinch of cilantro. That is quite messy, but that is okay. If you don't like cilantro, you could do parsley. That's a not as intense flavor as cilantro. Cilantro is very, very pungent, and a lot of people just don't like the flavor of cilantro. I love cilantro, but if you don't like it, that's fine. Okay, so with this, anytime I do this, because this one's got a lot of the like cilantro and stuff at the top, so I go ahead and debubble this to kind of see how much broth I'm gonna need in it. Because it's kind of hard to work with the broth when you're trying to debubble and the broth is like coming up over the top and all that. So I go ahead and I kind of debubble first, and then I'll add some broth and debubble again. Just take your time with it. I think that's the best method. because you don't want to mess everywhere and you don't want to go over your 1-inch headline space. So this chicken is raw, so it's going to create its own juice in here. So you could definitely cook off your chicken before you put it in here if you wanted to. That would be perfectly fine, and it would reduce your likelihood of having siphoning. I almost always have siphoning anytime I do something like this. Yesterday I did pulled pork and one of them siphoned a ton and the water was so gross and the jars were disgusting, but I expect that to happen when I do raw meat and add any kind of broth. I just expect that to happen. So that's why I'm taking my time on these. If you can see this here, I really made sure that I debubbled. You can see the bits that I kind of pushed down. It's a nice packed in there. I mean, it's not too tight. It's enough in here that you're gonna get a good solid soup out of this, or soup base, because you're gonna wanna add, you know, to this when you go to make this for dinner. You could totally eat it just like this, but you're really not gonna have enough liquid. You're gonna wanna add some broth when you cook this up if you wanna make it a real hearty soup. Maybe put some cream cheese in there too. You know, whatever you want in your enchilada soup. But like I said, this is probably gonna siphon. I don't want a ton of extra broth if I don't have to, so I put very little in there. You probably only need to make about 1 quart of broth, especially if you're using home canned broth. Start with 1 quart first. I did 2 today just to be safe, because I do not like to make extra broth. But as you can see here, I'm just going around the sides, really marrying these flavors together. It's gonna really move around in there as it's cooking, and you're gonna get a good blend of these flavors. But also I don't want to have to add a lot of extra liquid if I don't have to. All right, so now I'm going to add broth to that one. And I'm actually going to go a little bit underneath the 1-inch headspace because I know something will siphon. And that's what I'm going to continue to do with all these. And as soon as I'm done with that, I will come back. All right, so I got everything all set. My headspace is about the 1-inch, a tiny bit under that. And I'm just gonna take my vinegar paper towel and wipe these rims really good. You make sure you wanna make sure that you use the vinegar paper towel, because that's gonna cut any chicken fat that may have gotten on this rim. It's important to do that because you want to make sure you get a really good seal. I'm going to get some more vinegar. All right, I'm gonna finish these up and I'll be back. All right, as you are cleaning your rims off, you're checking for any cracks or nicks in the rim too, so that way, if you find one that has you really wanna do that when you're washing them, so that way if you found a chip or a nick at the end, you wouldn't have to take everything out and put it in a new jar. But I've done all that, cleaned with vinegar, and now I'm gonna get my lids and my bands on. All right, so we're just putting our lids on here. Just center them over the top. I just washed these with hot soapy water. I didn't do anything extra to them. You don't have to. And then you're just gonna put your bands on. Smells really good. I was also gonna say too that if you wanted to do like a white chili, which is another favorite in this house, you could omit the salsa verde and the cilantro and the green onions. You could leave the green onions in. Just do maybe a little extra broth, and you could even do a little bit more beans if there was space. White chili is really good too, and you know the base for a white chili is pretty much just chicken broth, chicken, some white beans, and then you're going to add some cheese, whatever you like to do to doctor it up. I'm not a person that like goes by a recipe for everything, so you could definitely you know, make this into something like that as well. All right, so I'm just doing finger tight on my bands. And then I'm gonna take these over to the canner and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so this one's my canner. I don't have the heat on right now because all of this stuff in here is pretty room temperature. So I'm just gonna start setting these in. And this is a 23 quart Presto, so the max for quarts is 7. Anytime I do anything in quarts, I try to get 7 in there. I like to do full canner loads if I can. Sometimes you just don't know how many you're gonna have, but I knew that I had enough ingredients to do 7, so that's what we got in here. Now, next step is your lid. And with mine, you have the arrows here on the side, and you're gonna line it up with the arrow here. And put that on, it'll nest onto there, and then you're gonna turn it. And now I'm gonna turn my heat on between medium and low. Let this kind of come up to temperature slowly, and then I'll start to kind of feel it out and see when I need to kick up the heat a little bit more, but I'm gonna start this on a lower heat setting. And right now, all we're doing is waiting for this pipe to vent. And as soon as it vents, we can start the timer for 10 minutes. So when this vents, I'll bring you back, I'll show you what it looks like. And right now, it's just wait for your canner to vent. You'll start to hear the canner kind of, like the stuff inside kind of, it sounds like it's rocking around. It's not, it's fine in there, but that's kind of the noises that you're listening for. And you'll start to hear the venting. So we're waiting for a vent. We'll come back when we get there. Okay, so now we're at the full vent stage. You can see the steam coming up solidly. You're gonna set your timer for 10 minutes at this point, and then when that 10 minutes is over, we'll come on back and start the next process. Okay, so at this point, our timer has run out for our vent. So we're just gonna drop the weight on, and at this point, you're just waiting for this gauge here to come up to whatever pressure you need to be at. I need to be at 13, so once this reaches 13, I'll come back. All right, so now we're right about the 13 mark. So because these are quarts and they have meat in them, we are going to do them for 90 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer now, and when the 90 minutes is up, I'll come back and show you from there. Now, if you're wondering about the pressure, it's perfectly fine if you go over. Like I'll probably keep mine closer to 15, between 14 and 15. Usually it stays right about 15, and that's fine. The thing that you don't want to happen is you don't want this to go below your pressure. So if you're at 11 or you're at 13, you don't want them to go below those numbers, because that is going to make you have to restart your timer. So you never want to go below, but it's okay to go a little bit above. So it's very hard to keep it right at 13. So if you get it to 13, start your timer, and it gets up to 15 and kind of stays there, that's okay. So I'm gonna start my timer now, and then we'll come back when it's all over. Okay, so my 90 minutes is up, and all I'm gonna do at this point is turn the heat off, and we're gonna wait for this dial to go all the way down to 0 and for the valve in the back to drop. So once that happens, then we'll come back. All right, so the canner has dropped all the way down to 0 in pressure, and the valve in the back has also dropped. So I'm gonna take this off, make sure no steam comes out, and we're good, and it's hot. And then to remove your lid, make sure you move away from yourself. And it's gonna be hot when you open this lid, so be careful and move it off quickly. All right, and I'm just gonna let those sit in there for a few more minutes, and then we'll take them out. All right, so just gonna be careful when you pull these out. Looks good. And you're just gonna wanna set those all on a towel. Okay, so that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already given me a like, I'd appreciate it a lot. And also, if you like this video and want to see more, then please hit the subscribe button. And that's going to be it for me today. So I'll see you in the next video.